Hey guys, the purpose of this video is to give you some notes about what causes our seasons so that you can use this when we do our cut and paste activity. First of all, you might be surprised to find out that it is not our distance from the sun which causes us to have our seasons. It's actually the tilt of the earth on its axis. So let's fill in this did you know section. Did you know the distance of the earth from the sun is not responsible for the seasons? The tilt of the earth towards or away from the sun changes the amount of heat energy each hemisphere gets from the sun. Now, in our notes here, we're going to be focusing on what's happening to the northern hemisphere because that's the hemisphere that we live in. But the opposite of everything we say will be true for the southern hemisphere. So if it's winter here, it's going to be summer there. If it's summer here, it's going to be winter there, and so on. So our planet is closest to the sun in the month of January, which for us, you know, is winter. So on the month that we're the closest to the sun, we're having some of our coldest weather. So just another reminder that it is not how close we are to the sun that causes our summer, our seasons, but it is that tilt that on our axis, our imaginary axis. So when our North Pole is tilted towards the sun, then our northern hemisphere, the hemisphere that we live in, gets direct sunlight, creating our hot summer conditions. And what do you think happens then when the northern hemisphere is tilted away from the sun, like this picture right here? This is an example of what our Earth would look like in our winter conditions. All right, so let's start here with winter. Winter begins on or about December 21st, and that day is called the winter solstice, so W-I-N-T-E-R-S-O-L-T-I-C-E, a winter solstice. And on the winter solstice, we have the longest night, in other words, the most hours of nighttime, and the shortest day. After that, it reverses. We start getting longer days and shorter nights. But up until this point, we're getting longer nighttime hours and shorter daytime hours. And on the winter solstice, we have the longest night and the shortest day. Okay, and as we're traveling around the sun in our counterclockwise orbit, the next season that we're going to get to is spring. Spring starts on or around March 20th, and that is called the spring equinox. And equal, you see that word kind of like equal? That's because at the spring equinox on or around March 20th, we're going to have the equal number of day and night hours. So our daylight hours will be exactly equal to our nighttime hours. 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours of night. Now we're continuing our counterclockwise orbit around the sun, and you can see that when we get to this position, the northern hemisphere now is more directly pointed towards the sun, and this is summertime. That starts on or around June 20th with the summer solstice. So winter solstice over here, the opposite summer solstice over here, and that's the opposite of the winter solstice. Here we have the longest day and the shortest night. So this is where, you know, it might be 9 o'clock out and you're still having daylight hours. So we've got the longest day and the shortest night here. All right, as we continue our orbit then around the sun, we hit fall. Fall is going to start on or around September 22nd with the fall equinox. So we have equal day and nighttime hours here. So again, just to recap, notice that we are pointed away from the sun here in the northern hemisphere. We keep that tilt all the way around. Notice that tilt doesn't change. What changes is which part of our globe is tilted towards the sun as we travel around it, and that's what causes our seasons. All right, so the Earth is tilted at an angle of about 23.5 degrees, so that 23.5 degree tilt. And you know, we've studied already that the Earth revolves around the sun in an elliptical pattern, not a circle. So elliptical here, or ellipse in an ellipse. All right? Now that you've taken these notes, you should have a really clear idea about the fact that it is not how close we are to the sun, but about that tilt of the Earth that causes our seasons.